So another question we've been asked is the run versus first appearance. Is there, when you're doing your business, is there something you look for? The run that's more important, the one-off, the cost of the run versus the cost of the one-off?
Trends change. I mean, at one point, I would have bought an entire run because it would have been easier to sell. Like, let's say some book like The Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would have bought the entire Defenders run, or I would have put together the entire Defenders run and sold that as a run because the money would have been better. But then things changed because it got to the point where, okay, it's actually better for me to pick out the best issues and just sell them that way. And then the other books, I was making enough money. I could donate the other books to charity. I could give them to the Salvation Army, and get a donation like that. So it depends. The strength of it is, okay, and again, it depends on the series. Say if it's something like Marvel Team Up. Marvel Team Up is always stronger as a run, always. You have some key issues in Marvel Team Up, but if you try to sell Marvel Team Up as a run, even if you have the first issue, second, even if you're missing, you can have all the key issues in there, but for the most part, everybody, a full run commands more money at the end of the day than than trying to do it individually.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting. I never would have thought about that. That first appearance would have been, but first appearance now is the key. People want first appearance.
That's thanks to Wizard magazine. I don't know if you read it when Wizard was in the 90s. See, comic book guys used to get, we used to get teased a lot because you would get the guys who collected stamps or collected baseball cards, and they were like, you collect comic books. That's so nice. All those things flying around in their underwear, but it's not worth anything. The only thing worth anything is Hulk 181 and Spider-Man, and that's it. It's not worth anything.
Right.
Wizard magazine, which I read, and I enjoyed it for the most part, but Wizard magazine took a different approach to comic collecting. And they were pretty much like, look, we need to streamline this. It's about the first appearances and the rare covers, and that's where Wizard magazine is. They had their own price guide in the back, and look at these books to shoot up. Wizard magazine approached comics like they were stock. Okay, and just like stock, boom, the bottom fell out when you approached it that manner. Wizard magazine was less about collecting it for art and collecting it for great stories, and more about, look, first appearance, this is what it is, okay? Which Spider-Man book is the most, not which Spider-Man story is the best to have, what's the most expensive book? Spider-Man #1, Amazing Fantasy 15. So their approach, that's what drives the whole first appearance, variant cover, that's where that comes from, okay? That really drove the market that way. Because you'll have something like Kingdom Come, great series, great art, and Kingdom Come, you maybe can get that for $20 or even less, depending on what the person is willing to let go with it.
Alex Ross, Kingdom Come?
Yeah, and that's a great series. Crisis on Infinite Earths, 1 through 12, that's a pivotal series for the DC Universe. That's probably the most important story of the DC Universe. Guys look at it like, hey, get it $50 or something of that nature. Then you throw in some first appearance, it could be some arbitrary first appearance too, and that will actually make some money because, hey, this person may be in a movie one day, and so on, and so on and so forth. So a lot of that came out of Wizard magazine, but that's where the first appearance, the rare cover, the first cover appearance, and then oh God, they get so nauseating with it. This is the first cameo appearance, and this is the first full appearance, and this, that, and the other. This is the second full appearance. It's ridiculous. The first appearance is where the character first appeared. End the story. Recently there was a X-Men, I think it was X-Men 14. Guys were going ape over it, buying it, because they said this is the first cameo appearance of Hellboy. Mars, you would have to get a magnifying glass to see this inside of it. It's like you're a stamp collector now, in order to see it, because it's this little thing where Hellboy is on like an ad in the back, and it's like you'd have to do that in order to get it. And on one hand, I like it. Okay, you're a completist, that's the real thing, fine. But these guys are paying $35, $40, $45 for this book. And I said, but the actual first appearance of Hellboy, where Hellboy is actually a living, breathing thing inside of the book, walking, talking, I said, is not too much further than that. Why don't you save that money and buy this book at the end of the day? So, that first appearance thing can really make these cats lose their mind at the end of the day. This is actually another good example where this book right here, what is this, if I'm correct, Hill Comics, this was Basket. Oh, this was a sampler?
Sampler, yeah.
Right. The actual issue came out recently. But it's like Basket Full of Heads. this got optioned. This got optioned to be a show.
Already?
So yeah, it was already optioned. So once the story, not this particular issue, let me make certain everybody can see it. Not this particular issue. This is a sampler. Okay, but the first issue was optioned. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, let me get a couple of copies, and variant, I'll sit on them at the end of the day. People will still be there, and they'll just sit there. The second somebody says, hey, we're going to make a movie out of this, forget about it. 3 days worth of these books flying off the shelves because nobody wants to miss out. And all of that dates back to Wizard Magazine. This is a first appearance. Hey, buy it now before it gets out of reach, and it goes up and then it comes down. That's for the most part. Then you get books like Batman Damned, where everybody thought that would inflate to a certain part and they were waiting for it to come down. That's still a $50 book. You're still gonna have to pony up some money if you want that book.
Wow. Another question that we get a lot is, hey, we have a whole bunch of Valiant comics, a whole bunch of Image comics. Are there any value with those? Versus, any value that we can get off of those? Some people say they're not worth much. Some people say some of the comics are worth. What is your take on that?
That's a real, that's a hard age and a hard part with comics, because Image comics, for the most part, a lot of guys bought so many Image comics because they thought that was the second coming of Marvel, that they were going to buy these comics and they were going to, corner the market on them, and then 2 or 3 years later they're going to be able to put their kids through college, based on those comics, without the realization that, hey, one of the reasons why Amazing Fantasy 15 is rare is it's not only the first appearance of Spider-Man, it's a very hard book to get. It's a hard book to find in good condition. There weren't that many of them. There's not that many of them that survived. Those are things that come into play. Image, like something like Spawn sold the first issue of Spawn, and this is still a book that's sought after by people, but the first issue of Spawn sold something like 1.7 million copies. That's not a hard book to find, even though you can still sell it for a decent amount of money right now, as opposed to a lot of the other Image books. Same thing with Valiant. Some of the Valiant books sell very well, like Harbinger first issue sells very well. There was like a pink variant cover as well. Those sell very well, but also because first issue, and the other one because it was rare. Same thing with some of the Image. If you have like Spawn books, average Spawn book you can get from anywhere from $5 to $20. Average Spawn book. But then some of them have the newsstand variant on. The newsstand books for Image were really hard to find. So if you have one with the newsstand, with the newsstand variant, that sells better. So there's money to be made. There is value in Image books and Valiant books, but with like any other book, you've got to know what you're looking for. It's not enough to, and this is a mistake that a lot of guys made. You read the book, you enjoyed it, you really loved the stories, and everybody was talking about it, and everybody loved it at that time. At that time, that might have been a really valuable and a very popular book. It's now 2019. The way you felt about it then and feel about it now does not necessarily make it a valuable book. So you have to look and do your research and see, okay, what is this? And then the other thing is, don't just throw them all away because, I thought this was going to be worth hundreds of dollars, and it's, no. Look at them. Can you sell them all together? Okay. Sometimes it's worth it to look at the issues and find out what's the overall value of every issue, because that makes you smarter going forward in terms of how you procure comics, what you're going to stay away from, what to purchase in bulk, et cetera, et cetera.